Straw Hut Media.
Hello, this is Lew Schneider, man of note, and you're not to be alone with Jay Kogan.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Hi, and welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan, a show where we dedicate ourselves to connecting with people the old-fashioned way, talking to one another, and then putting it up on the internet. I guess that's not really the old-fashioned way, but that's how we do it here, because that way we can possibly squeeze your time and make money off of it. And that's the old-fashioned way. My name is Jay Kogan, and I am a comedy writer, comedian, former philosophy student, and now the biggest podcaster of all time. So I'm sure you've heard of me. I'm the Oprah of Straw Hut Productions. I want you to, if you have questions about life, about my show, about anything, or suggestions, or questions that you want to submit to our guests to be read on the air, please send them to dbawjaykogen@gmail.com. That's Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan at gmail.com. And I will answer each and every one and send a secret surprise to everyone who sends me something. That last part is a complete lie, but I do want to encourage you to communicate with me because I want to communicate with you. The show is supposed to be kind of funny, but it's also supposed to be serious, and I really do want to connect with you. And I really do want people to connect with me, and that's the whole reason for the show. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being here. Today, our guest is going to be Lew Schneider, who's one of the funniest people I know. He's a great comedian and comedy writer, and a guy I've known for many years. And we're going to be talking about humor and the danger of humor, and what's okay to say and what's not okay to say. And for many, many years, the core essence of who I was if something happened, I was going to make a joke about it. Now, through the course of time, I've learned that some people don't like making jokes about their most personal tragedies. And I understand that. And I have to be cognizant of that. And I'm aware of that. And when I do make a joke, I'm not trying to make light of their condition. I'm trying to shed some humor on it. But I've learned to respect who I'm talking to and know my audience. But there's still a part of me that I have to hold back that wants to make a joke. And it's an interesting phenomenon. It's not just me, it's most of my comedy friends feel this way. We're that kind of person. So it's kind of, how do you control that instinct in this world where it's not really always appreciated? We'll be talking about that and other things with the great Lew Schneider coming up after this.
Don't be alone with Jay Kogan.
Lew Schneider, I'm so happy you're here. One of the first people I ever thought of when I started doing a podcast 14 years ago, I said to myself, I have to have Lew on the show. And it's taken a good 14 years.
How can we jab our way in, soften the audience up with something that's not like, it's for the section of the public that's going to sort of go, oh, I listened to that show back when Lew Schneider was on, right, before it was really hot. That's what I usually do. I am the mattress pad of podcasts.
Okay, well, but you're very, very good. I assume that you've done many, 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 many podcasts.
I've done a few.
Okay.
Done a few. Love them all.
Me too. Do you ever say no? I don't.
I really don't.
Yeah. Because
the money's so good.
It's true. Once you get the sweet taste of podcast money, there's no going back.
Yeah. No, it's delish.
Yeah. I have...
Oh, I love it. I mean, you know what? Honestly, Jay, this is another one. I don't get to see the people I like often enough, and friends have asked me to do their podcast, so it's a visit. So
That's right.
So here we are.
That's how I feel about it.
It's awesome.
That's why I'm asking friends to do this. And then there's the money part. Also celebrities. Yeah.
Celebrities can be friends, but only in rare circumstances.
Yeah, there's not really. But the thing about my friends are, I only have friends I can use. So that's why I have a lot of celebrities.
You know what they say?
What?
A useful friend is a friend indeed.
That's true. You and I know each other through the world of comedy writing mostly.
Yes, okay. and wives also.
Right.
I knew your wife from comedy writing.
Right.
And then I met you because she said, Jay's funny. You should meet Jay. And then I did, and you were.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Great.
But it's interesting to me that I know a lot of comedy writers who aren't nearly as fun to be with as you. Like you're a comedy writer, but you're also stand-up. I know both those worlds of people, and you want to riff.
I have things to say. I have things to say. My wife is sick of them.
Yes, that's the true mark of a comedian or a comedy writer. Is his wife will not laugh at anything that he has to say.
When it works, my wife's. We'll talk about this, but my wife's laughter. I don't want to spoil it. I know where we're going on this podcast.
All right. But I just wanted to start with a little bit of your history and how you got to here. So you grew up in the Massachusetts area?
I did. I grew up in Brookline, Massachusetts. I actually was a transplant from the South. I lived my first 7 years in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Just enough to watch the end of the Jim Crow era.
Right.
Which is true.
Right. You miss it?
Look, the trains ran on time. I don't know.
I get it.
What is a
I
fascist
get
racist
it.
supposed
Listen,
to say?
nothing. I'm not saying you're racist. I'm just saying things were good for certain people.
A mint julep is a lovely cocktail, so why can't we own people?
Right.
See, that logic does not fly for me. My mother ran the Head Start program in Chapel Hill,
course,
so we
nice.
went there with an agenda.
Right. Then
we moved to Boston.
Right.
And then I went to college in Philadelphia. But even in high school, I'd done a little tiny bit of stand-up. Mostly, and I thought I was great.
Right.
But basically what I was good at was imitating Ms. Young, geometry teacher.
Okay.
Who is a dead...
She's sounding like the Wanda Sykes.
She sounds just like Wanda
great.
Sykes.
All right.
I'm sad. Louis, what's an integer?
Do you still do that in your act? Do you still keep Ms.
No,
Young?
my act.
Yeah.
I would not keep Mrs. Young in that.
Okay.
She would be in the hour and a half for colleges.
All
I
right.
have to do the hour and a half for colleges.
But then you did stand up all around sort of the Eastern Seaboard, but eventually you moved to Chicago.
Well, yeah. What happened was I was in this group in college, and then one of the directors of the group said, you should go to Chicago and take classes at Second City. And having no prospects, I went to Chicago and took classes at Second City and never auditioned for Second City. But in those days, if you were a young man of a certain age and you could stand in front of a brick wall, you were conscripted into the ranks of stand-up comedians.
Sure.
And I did that. And I worked with some really, really funny people.
You got trained. But the thing about it is, you didn't know it at the time, and I kind of didn't know it at the time either when I grew up. But we were trained to become these joke machines, and that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think they do it so much anymore. Well, some people are really great joke machines, but boy, once you start, it's hard to turn the machine off.
You know what happened was people started taking an interest in the mental health of children. And therefore, the joke machine thing sort of went away.
Yes. My family, their response to the way I behaved was, must you?
Right.
And I think now, must you is followed by, you should talk to somebody.
Opposite of my family. My father
told you
only cared about the joke. He's like, that was the only, my only way in was if I could make a joke. So it's the opposite.
My own kids deal with this. I have 3 sons, and my middle one will float the jokes out in front of me that he's going to spring on his coworkers, and I pitch, and then he says, "No, I like mine better."
Right.
Like, then don't pitch to me.
Right.
And I'm sure your dad had that with you too.
He punched mine up.
Yes.
He would say,
I'm trying.
He would say, like put the punchline at the end. He wasn't wrong. He was not wrong about some of the things.
Word usually goes last.
Yeah, but the joke at the end.
Yeah.
You don't need those extra words. That reference, maybe you can find a different reference than something other, and that you 7-year-olds know. Find something that I know. So yeah, he was right about all that stuff. But
yeah, I took Chicago. By the way, you asked. I went to Chicago first because I was too chicken to go to New York or Los Angeles.
Right.
And there was a lot of opportunity in Chicago when I got there.
Warm. It's a warm place.
It's cold but warm.
Yes. Nice people.
Yeah. There's city and neighborhoods, and I worked in a restaurant as a waiter, and anybody who was artistic or had something going in the restaurant, we would all go out as a group. Like, the Scooby-Doo mystery van would empty, and we would all go in to see somebody's, sing with the band, or somebody's art exhibit, or somebody's photo exhibit, or somebody's comedy. And we were really supportive of each other. It was really good. It got you on the right foot.
Lifelong friends from that era.
I do, and they all have podcasts.
Well, that's good. So then I don't even have to introduce you to my audience. They'll already know. They'll have looked up Lew Schneider, and this podcast will come like 80th down on the list.
So many when you do Jay Kogan. It's insane. You've done many.
So many podcasts. Well, we built this, the Jay Kogan Don't Be Alone with Jay Kogan Studios, which is on the penthouse floor.
Oddly enough, part of a commune. No one's alone here.
No one should be alone.
80 people are off mic being quiet.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
By the way. So I met you and immediately had a kinship with you, and still do to this very day because of, and You're a smart person. We have a lot to talk about, but you fucking joke great.
Oh.
All right? And you have that, and your sensibility of humor is my sensibility of humor, which is, and this is the thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is joke is the primary thing. Joke comes first. I grew up with a joke was more valuable than almost anything.
My wife gets on me about this.
Yeah.
Here's a shit joke. Not on much of anything else. No, my wife says, "Does everything have to be funny?"
Right.
And my response to that is simply yes. I mean, that's a simplification, but it either has to be funny, or people have to think it's funny, or people. There should be some recognition of the fact that something could be funny in that situation. And because my wife says, like, because I say, I like hanging out with Jay. Why? He's funny. And she says, does everyone have to be funny? Yes. What better division of people into those you hang around with and those you don't hang around with is then why not make it funny?
But you have a soul. You care about things. I don't think you're devoid of emotions or anything else. You just happen to make good jokes.
But those people, the audience is going, when?
Yeah, well,
but what I'm saying is, like, the people who, you said soul, that's what it's about. If the people don't have to be funny, but their soul will indicate, they will exhibit that soul if I see that they can get a laugh or appreciate laughter.
Well, let me state,
and that's who you hang around with.
Let me state the premise of the topic today, the full premise, which is, I have been told and you have been told that there are some things you don't joke about. There's some things that are inappropriate to joke about. There's a time issue of when things are allowed to be joked about or not allowed to be joked about. There's a, off limits topic of what's okay to joke about. And that goes so against my grain that I've learned that I'm a human being, that I need to do that and need to pay attention to who my audience is. But when I hear of a wonderful, beautiful person has just died, my first instinct is, how do I make a joke about that?
Correct.
Now, that's
Correct.
People say, you have no heart, you have no soul.
No. It's because you have a heart and soul that you are going to joke your way out of this. Because first of all, there's the defense mechanism of, oh my gosh, this is super painful. What are we supposed to do? Live in this terrible, miserable place for a long time? Can't I just let that sink down and throw a skim coat of sugar on this thing?
Right.
And can we possibly find a joke?
You're talking about
here?
this part of Hollywood? The terrible, miserable place?
I'm talking about, yeah. No, I'm when this happens, like, first of all, you start dealing in absolutes, you're having it gets real thorny to say, there's certain things you just don't joke about. And I would have to say, as I say about everything, well, that depends.
With who? That's a real question, right?
It depends on with who, when, where. There's sometimes that that a joke like a falling star will flash across the sky. There was one opportunity for that joke. Can't work tomorrow. Can't work in the next instant. Can't work yesterday. It worked that day. Can I give you one example?
Sure.
This is a terrible thing.
Please.
And it's not going to be funny. I'm telling you right now, it's not funny.
Okay.
But here it goes. It was that night.
This is going to be a promo then.
This
won't be funny, but here comes Lew Schneider about to say it.
We were at our best friend's child's bar mitzvah. We're at the temple. It's Friday night. It's not the bar mitzvah. It's the night before. The kid comes in, says one prayer. It's like a little teaser for the next day. The poor kid's grandmother had just been in an automobile accident, and her husband was killed. When she says hello, I know this one.
When you say just, like weeks before, days before?
Probably 10 days before, maybe 2 weeks.
All right.
She comes to me looking understandably forlorn. I haven't seen her in a long time. Her nose the black and blue is still under her eyes. Her nose is still discolored. She sort of gives me those sad eyes and says, "Hello, Lew." And I said, "Hi, Shelley. So what's been going on?" She looked stunned and shocked.
Right.
And I didn't like go, ha ha, or blow a horn or anything. I then like sort of opened my arms. She laughed, fell into my arms, and then cried.
Right.
But that was she knew that was my human reaction. I wanted her to know that I cared.
Right.
But I didn't know how to just say, I'm so sorry. Felt so thin.
Because everybody's been saying I'm sorry.
Yes, and I know people who have said this to me who have suffered tremendous loss. And they said, just don't give me the sad eyes.
Right.
What they don't want from people is, I can't, how are you? How do you find the strength?
Right.
becomes trite and it puts the burden on the other person. I take the burden.
Right. Some people want it, though. Some people want that pity moment. Some people
I apologize right away.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Usually in my whole life, everything comes either pre-apologized or post-apology.
Of course. You know, if I haven't seen a friend for a long time and they say, "How's everything? How's your son?" I go, "Oh my God, you didn't hear." So
that's
all right.
That's a thing. Yes.
Okay. And then my wife will be next to me and say, "You can't joke about your son's death."
Yes.
How do you make that a joke?
This is why I'm so much funnier than you are, Jay. Because that's creating the unwitting dupe.
Right.
And I'm not allowed to do that because Liz, my wife, does not like the unwitting dupe style.
Brown does not like it either. But if I'm talking to somebody who I think would be
like it later, yes,
and I say no, they'll be amused at the fact that I would even consider using my son's death as fodder for human.
I love the fact that your son has perished.
He's not. He's actually alive. He's actually alive.
Ignore my card.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Ignore my card. But I don't know where I'm getting my information.
You know, I mean, I'm willing to joke about tragedy. I'm willing to joke. Yeah. I mean, 9/11, I made some bad jokes.
The Raymond Writers Room used to say, because I believe, they say, I worked on a show called Everybody Loves Raymond. People who didn't know that, that's what I did. But I say, people say, well, tragedy plus time equals comedy. And I think the physics is wrong. I think it's tragedy equals comedy.
Right.
Why lag? Why have that time lag? Let's see. I think we can go right to it.
Comedy relies deeply on everyone understanding the reference.
Correct.
And tragedy brings a reference bubbling to the surface.
Right,
then
so we have it.
It becomes a thing to be used.
So go.
Exactly.
Right. Once it's arrived, it's there. So
everyone
get it
knows.
Fresh. It's locally sourced. It's sustainable. It's today's catch.
Right.
Serve.
There it is. So yes, I understand that some things are painful and you can be tapping into people's trauma and I don't want to do that.
Suppose our joke is we're already past it, don't you think? Please catch up. We're going to go fast today.
That's
but true. I mean, but people do deserve their space to grieve and stuff. There's certain things that like I say, in the moment you have to make that decision. And comedy has we always say, well, you had to be there. If comedy is the ultimate, you had to be there. Right. Sometimes these jokes don't work later. You have to make sure that they are working. When you tell them for whom you are telling them, and Liz, of course, is panicking that I'm doing this podcast. She said, "You're going to say some things that are going to be on tape, and you can't joke about that." And I'm like, "I'll know when I'm there."
If you want to eliminate, so far you have not said anything, as far as I know, that's bad.
Oh, don't worry. I have some screed, anti-government, anti-Jewish screed.
We'll edit anything out that you hate, but I can't imagine that to be anything. But I mean, I remember the 500-pound Hawaiian singer who sang
Israel Come On How I Love You.
Right, that guy. When he died, when I heard that he died, I said he died doing what he loved, gasping for air.
Oh, I had that joke about my father. My father died doing what he loved, having a heart attack on the toilet. Right. He used to say, "Boy, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Don't bother me. I'm going to have a heart attack. I just love it."
See, I think that's great.
He sent me, because he knew that I would share his joy, he sent me to have a heart attack on a toilet camp.
Wow. If God forbid you were to die.
You and I are having a wonderful time with this podcast.
If you were to die, God forbid, sometime soon, and I made a joke about it,
please,
would the spirit of Lew be upset?
First of all, let's try it. No, put the gun down. No, you can, yes, I would expect nothing less.
And me too. Like, if people wanted to make fun of my death when I'm gone, so go for it.
I would encourage it, but only, I would have to say though, nothing hack. Only you
don't get to choose that.
All right, only you good people. But it would be amazing if your loving spouse sends a thing as part of your announcement of your death, and she puts like little check marks next to certain people, like like at a graduation, how they say like that little indication, like is allowed to make light of.
Yes, sure. This is joke.
These
joke
people
fodder for.
Right. These
and
people,
have a list of people.
These people are allowed.
I'm wide open. Anybody could make a joke at any time.
The writing I'm most proud of is I do pretty good condolence card's funny. The problem is when someone loses a second parent, I've already done the joke in the first, so so they're like, you said that about my father.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry.
You can't repeat.
Then please just
then you're revealed as a hack.
Right. May your family, may the support of your loved ones, carry you through this difficult time. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
Whatever. But sometimes people have compared. They're like, oh, when Lew sent when my dad died, Lew sent this card, and I'm like, he sent that to me.
Right. No, you want to be found out.
I'm a hack.
Thank God people don't really share personal feelings.
That's why it's
you
kind of
count on it.
That's why you talk about. That's why it's a safe space.
Yeah,
Jim.
it really is. People don't share. People don't talk.
People don't talk.
Yeah, that's good. I'm good making those kind of jokes. I'm good making jokes with people. I find that what you said to the grandmother at the bar mitzvah, the reason why she fell into your arms is there's an honesty to a joke.
Well, first of all, there's the physical attraction.
Well, sure.
Okay. Keep going.
When did you grab anything when she?
She just suffered a loss, and also the ark was open.
You can't. All right.
Can't do it.
I didn't know
if the Aaron.
I didn't know what protocol was.
Open.
You can't cop a feel when the ark is open.
No, you have to wait till.
Okay, I did not know.
Please be seated.
Okay, and you can't drive. You can't drive a car.
No,
or cop a feel.
You can hire a Gentile
to cop a feel.
Who can cop a feel for you?
Okay, that's good.
He's the touchy feely guy.
But that's my real point was there's honesty in that joke. People say it's a mask for real emotion, but I actually think that there's honesty in a joke because inherent in a real joke like that is an understanding. Like, I understand you've been pitied and don't want to be pitied. I understand you went through tragedy, and my making light of it acknowledges the tragedy.
Also, what you said is very important because I think it acknowledges the relationship with the two people right off the bat. In other words, you know me, and we are close. We share a bond, and you would expect me to be honest with you in the situation, not terribly insensitive.
Right.
Like I didn't talk about the details of the accident and the horrible circumstances. I just was sort of saying like, my joke was kind of like, ugh, I know you've been through something.
Right.
So it's knowing it's about knowing your audience and having that relationship.
I'm laughing right now at a joke that you told me at dinner not long ago that I can't even repeat here. But we were practicing a possible stand-up joke, and you talked about masseuse and getting a massage, not a dirty masseuse, but getting a massage. Yeah. And you told a joke, and it was in its character could be interpreted as racist. It wasn't racist.
Oh God, yeah, no,
it wasn't racist.
No, it was not. Please,
it was not racist at all.
Okay.
But I laughed very hard at it.
Yeah,
and the way that you can laugh at something when you know somebody who isn't racist said something that went down the road, and both our wives.
Yes, immediately. You stop right now.
Right,
stop right now. No. The other. By the way, my friend. I have a friend named John Joseph. He's an attorney.
Right,
and he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. And the reason why. He has that. He is always looking for the one person in the crowd who will get him, but really get him.
Right.
And so his mother is dying, and she's had cancer, and she's really like they've sort of been taking her out in pieces, actually. And she turns to him. This is like on her deathbed, and she says, "Look at me, John. I don't have my teeth. I don't have my hair. I don't have my arm. I mean, can you believe it's ending this way?" And he says to her, "Well, at least you have your health." And she laughed hard.
Okay, good.
Because he knows his mom.
Right.
He knows what she would want.
Right.
Like, and it broke her sadness.
Right. It's like that great New Yorker cartoon. There's a great New Yorker cartoon with a guy.
I never read the New Yorker. It has cartoons?
Yeah, it does have cartoons. I only read it for the cartoons. I don't read the articles. Too long.
I just look at the fold out.
There's a doctor looking at a man who's bandaged from head to toe.
Yes.
Just completely bandaged. There's only visible one eye. Only visible. And the doctor is looking at the patient, is holding a clipboard and says, "I don't like the look of that eye. I don't like the look of that eye." And it's just... that's my dad's favorite New Yorker
I've never
cartoon.
heard that.
Oh, it's so good.
Usually I've heard them, and I love them. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Most New Yorker cartoons are kind of like, just a little miss.
Yeah,
like right there. Here's what's funny. Here's what's almost funny. They're in the almost funny category. That was a straight ahead big hit.
There's so many good ones. That's great.
The truth.
Don't look at that eye.
The truth is, interesting. The truth brings us closer, and the truth can be part of these jokes. And that's kind of like, that's where I stand now. Here it is, 2023, and I understand that the world has changed, and not everybody feels this way. I miss the days where I could sit around with comedians and writers and just say the weirdest stuff, and know that I wouldn't be perceived as, I don't know, backward thinking or sexist or what, because the joke that I'm conceiving relies on the fact that you have to know I'm not sexist to say this crazily sexist thing, or not racist to say this crazily racist thing, or anti-Semitic thing, or whatever it is that I'm saying.
All this time that you are taking right now is that same amount of time as what it would take to give the preamble in today's writer's room to then say this thing, which I'm sure you would get in trouble for.
You couldn't say it.
And you couldn't say it. And so it's not worth the time.
Right.
So you don't do it because of the time. Moreover, I mean, obviously you're sensitive to it, but what you're trying to say is like, look, these jokes are just intellectual exercises. They're not designed to hurt people's feelings. And as soon as someone's feelings are hurt, well, then you can't do the exercise.
Right. And people's feelings get hurt now.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And not the problem, but I understand. Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the right to have their feelings hurt. No. And if they're going to be sensitive, then I should know my audience enough to know, don't hurt their, don't
That's
hurt
where the
feelings.
time becomes important. The longer you're in the room with people, the more it starts. This is what I'm saying. So you have to be there. The more the bonds start to loosen, the more the bonds of friendship tighten, and the more the boundaries sort of fall away a little. I find that that you got to be careful. But sometimes it starts to get a little easier, but certainly not early.
Even late. I don't think I'm going to take
Maybe
that.
That's why I don't get hired.
Because out of context, somebody repeat that, though. Jay Kogan said this thing. That still will be perceived as a bad thing.
Because you don't get to spend all that time going, no, you see, because the first day we met, I said this, and she liked me, and then I liked her, and we all had a wonderful laugh.
So I now spend a lot of my time in a writer's room that's supposed to be filled with jokes, not necessarily making jokes. Now, truth be told, most of those jokes were room jokes anyway. Most of those jokes weren't jokes about the work. They were just
here's
banter, funny banter.
By the way, in comedy clubs too, I think if I was doing stand-up again, not that I ever told jokes per se, but even sort of like generalizations, you have to be super careful. So mainly the one person who it's safe to make fun of is you and yours.
Of course. Yes.
So, and there's plenty there.
Right.
In your case.
What? But I almost interpret it as an insult, but that can't possibly be. Not here in my podcast.
Not when you're the host of the podcast.
Not in my safe space.
No, right.
Of course you can make fun of yourself, and that's fine, but the limitation of that is a little frustrating, but it's fine because there's so many things.
There are some benefits to those conditions. Like, hey, you know what else? We're also going to not... we're going to be nicer to people in general.
Right.
There's some of that is going around.
And every generation has the right to its own zeitgeist, and if the zeitgeist of I don't even know what they are, Gen Z or millennials is a little bit more sensitive.
I can't even keep up with the letters of the generations or the named storms. So I don't know.
They're all alphabetical. Everything's alphabetical. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah. We're going to double A after
double A,
Z.
sure.
After Z.
Yeah. No, they each year, the even years are female names and the odd years are male names.
For the name storms.
Yes, and then they're alphabetical after that, and they've run out of names, so they're like repeating Hurricane Helen. You know, it's like at a certain point over time. I love talking about weather. Can we just talk more about the weather?
Certainly can. Look, am I going to one up you? Of course. Was my wife's great grandfather the first weatherman in the United States? Yes, he was. Why is that important?
True?
Of course. If you were Gentile and you got to this country early enough, you got to have like a whole department war charge named after you.
The first weatherman?
Yes. Cleveland Abbey. They just unveiled a giant portrait. He was a founding member of the National Geographic Society.
Wow.
Yes, these are all. So whenever it's humid, God damn, you're fucking great grandfather.
But was he a meteorologist or was he like a on the news weatherman?
No. He was a meteorologist.
Okay,
these are men of science.
All right. But when you say weatherman, I'm picturing somebody on the news.
No. He. You know what helped? the telegraph.
Yeah, sure.
He realized that the weather moved across the country from west to east, and he would say, hey, you know what? You should tell New York it's going to rain in a couple of days. We're like, why should we? Because it will help them. And basically that was sort of like, that's sort of like how he started operating. He's like, we have the means to tell them that the weather's going to be bad in a couple of days.
Nobody in my family ever had a good idea. That's the thing I know. Like, you can take years and years. My son has tracked our family for hundreds and hundreds of years, and nobody has had a good idea.
I always keep saying to Liz, though, it's like, you guys got here early. Yeah. There were plenty of spots. You could just go sign up to be famous.
Yeah, not good. Although Charlie does say there is a section of the Kogan family that's not directly related to me that are geniuses that like invented RCA, that like, did a lot of things.
He's a genius.
He's smart, but still the good idea has yet to arrive. So we'll see.
A lot of them have been taken. All
we'll see what happens.
Taken.
So
we're a little far afield. We're far away from funny.
We are. As we get older and as we morph and change in our careers, I'm finding actually lately, especially after the strike and all this, I'm socializing more. I'm hanging out with more people, and it's feeling a little bit more like I can be freer talking to people. When we talked on our on the strike line with Wally and quite recently, no holds barred.
Yes.
And I love that.
Well, does that go to Jay? Does that go to my point of once you are immersed in the relationship, you can really sort of stop barring holds?
Maybe. I think it also goes to this point, which is there are people I already feel close to that I don't spend enough time with.
Well,
then when I can find time to spend with them, that's the joy.
Yes.
Then I have this great joy.
But I will say there was a thing about the strike line. I walked with people that I really don't. They're not friends. I mean, they became friends on the strike line, but
not according to them about you.
No, I know, but that's okay. That's okay.
Sure.
Let me live in the illusion. But
okay.
But like these are people that and I'm going to say like. I'm an old white guy, so now I'm hanging around with some people of color and some just because these are people I met because we walk at the same pace.
Right.
I've got people who women that who are married to other women who have kids, and now we're bonding over having kids, and like, oh, I remember that age, and like so I'm having these conversations, and these are people I would find myself in a writer's room with, hopefully.
Right.
But it was like we could tell each other some very revealing things because there's sort of that. Almost like we're not really great friends, but it's safe. And who's he going to tell?
Right.
And he doesn't know me, and I might not see him again, so I don't have to be embarrassed later. So it's kind of like a one strike stand.
Do you find that when you're talking to a person you meet who might be like they say a woman or a person of color, and you're this white guy? I mean, of course you're Jewish, so people don't acknowledge that that's also a difficult thing to exist in, all right, but
it depends on the family. Yes,
but there's a breakthrough moment.
Yes,
in that thing when you start being honest. When the wall comes down, people walk around with walls up because they have walls to protect themselves from all kinds of things that come in.
I started talking to this woman about like she's got this kid who's transitioning, and I was like, God, that's I get to ask those questions I always want to ask, which is like they're transitioning at 14. I mean, like isn't 14 already a terrible age? And like, do you worry that maybe, like, do you ever think like, oh, I should do this, or I shouldn't do this, or I should allow this, or I shouldn't allow this, or is it not your decision at all? And like, I mean, what goes into this soup? Like, and how far are you along with the like, I would never say to someone, even a good friend, how far along is your kid with their transition? Like, I would never ask that. But the strike allowed for all these, fatigue is like, this is a foxhole thing. It's like, what do you talk about in a foxhole? This is,
you're already on the same side.
Yes.
So that you have
and
bond.
There wasn't any judgment there from either party. Like it was really interesting. I really found it fascinating. I wish we were still on strike.
No, you don't wish that.
There's something you just can't say.
No. And we will be in about 10 years. So don't worry, it'll come back.
I'll be so out of there.
It'll be fine. But you'll still strike.
Still walk. Just for the exercise,
exactly.
Just for the steps.
You'll still strike. I still haven't, I'm still going to live with the difficulty of being a jokester in a world that doesn't necessarily love joking, especially like you say, my wife or my son or people who are sick of my jokes. It's so disappointing to be a professional comedian or comedy writer and say something and the eye rolls from your family.
What happened to the people who used to play the clavichord? They're done too. Like,
Right.
there's maybe we're done. Maybe
right,
it's
we
not
could
our
be done.
time anymore. You know, it's like people are sitting there. There's still clavichords. No one's playing
I'm
them.
still going to find a way to do it. You know, I was, and this is apropos of nothing. How early can you check yourself into hospice? Because I'm ready now.
Oh, first of all, the idea, my mom blanched at the subject of assisted living. I was like, what? Why would you hate this? You complain.
Right.
They assist you with
living.
your living.
Right. No.
Remember the expression, life is hard?
Right.
Well, guess what? What if you had an assist?
Right, exactly. But I'm saying not forget assisted living. I'm
You're
going to
talking
go
about the end.
right to hospice.
To hospice.
Right to the drugs.
Well, I didn't have a joke
the
for
bed.
that. I only had a joke. I only had the assisted living
right.
chunk.
All right, very
but the
good.
hospice,
Yes.
we do worry about like Jimmy Carter's getting the most out of his hospice money.
I mean, he just turned 100.
I thought he was only 99. Did he just turn 100?
I thought he just had his 100th birthday.
Oh.
Like 2 days ago.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I
didn't
mean, he should be kicked out of hospice.
know. I've heard that. You're
Yeah.
not making progress.
Exactly.
I heard
Right.
a friend of ours who, luckily, the daughter's a doctor. She was able to get her an extension, and she did die. But they were really like, you know,
We're very disappointed in you.
Yes, really. This is we don't want to be sued for malpractice. This person's living.
You're not going to play us.
Right.
We're not going to be sitting here and be
Right.
played.
There's no lifetime guarantee with this hospice.
Right.
Wait. Well, I guess that's a
well.
wrong terminology.
Well, I thank you for talking about this. I'm going to find my own closure at some point with this, but
I don't know that there is closure on this, Jay. Because it's
as long as I'm
depends.
willing to meet and talk to new people, there'll be no closure. If I just lock it off and just stick with the 50 people I know will put up with my shit, I'll be fine. But I'm not willing to do
Do you
that.
need more than 50 people? I think that's right.
I do.
I think we assign a number to this, and that's it. I think you found the answer. No, can I just say, I think what you said is right. Are there things you certainly can't talk about? I think the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
There.
All right.
I think we did it.
All right. Let me ask you some questions. I have this. We have a part of the show called Question Time.
It's question time.
Let's get ready for Question
And
Time.
when are we going to actually record?
And we've been recording. This whole thing's been recorded.
no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Everything you said is on record.
No,
it's being broadcast live.
No.
Yes.
This can't be. This is too much.
Live. That's the reaction that nobody's ever had in real life. Is that to stutter a word and then say it over and over again as if it's like that Bud out, like Abbott and Costello, like Frankenstein. Like nobody
That's not the
says
part
that.
that's not what holds you up.
No. As a matter of fact, my friend Dave Higgins used to do the Lou Costello hearing bad medical news. Cancer.
So as we know, cancer's not funny,
Right.
unless it's
Let's-
also piled on with a stutter, which is
Exactly.
something, of course, hilarious.
Cancer can be funny.
Oh,
That's why cancer can be very funny.
depends.
I'm not Nurse Jackie. I don't know if you ever saw Nurse Jackie. That wasn't funny. But every other cancer thing I've ever seen has been very funny.
I think the key with the key with cancer is it has to be a funny body part to begin with.
That's true.
So you have to say
Anus cancer is funny.
right, wrist cancer.
Right. Wrist cancer is not bad. Not
Right,
bad. Yeah.
right.
I get it. Sure.
So-
Earlobe cancer.
Yeah,
That's something
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So here's question time.
Go ahead,
And
question
now
time.
there's two ways we do question time. One is I have a bunch of questions, pre-written questions, and you pick a letter and a number, and we'll get those questions. But before that, pre-written questions, I have some questions I thought of that I wanted to ask my friend Lew that I've never asked, which is, you've transitioned from from comedian, you do acting, you're a writer, you director.
Yes.
Do you miss, if you could snap your fingers, would you go backwards to anything? Would you go back to stand up in a like right now? Would you go stand up?
Under the right conditions. It's always under the right
what are-
conditions.
what are those-
Stand up is great if you're not going back to open mic
Right.
nights. If you're going to, hey, we're shooting a comedy special and it's you, they came to see you,
Yeah.
and
Not-
that happened only once,
Right.
and it was fun.
Right.
I never attained the level of like, oh my God, we got to go see this
Right.
guy. I was
Right.
just at the club and
Right.
they came to see me, unless
Right.
it was, I shot a special. But I never got to the, oh my God, thousands of fans.
But so many people never got to that level. It's interesting that you never got to the level of whoever, John Mulaney right now is
Oh my God.
is killing it.
Right.
But
Where
to
they're
be
predisposed to fall down.
but
and
John Mulaney has 5 guys that middle for him,
Yes.
and they're all great.
Yes, that my friend Dan Levy does
Yeah.
it all the time.
Right.
And Dan Levy got to work on his act during the last year by doing stadium shows.
Right.
Which is not like, there's very little winning him over at the stadium show. Like I still had to win him over to
Right.
some degree, and it's fun. There's a sense of there's real joy in that because you've bent people to your will and they're laughing because you turned them, which is really great. Or they were already laughing and you kept them laughing. The directing is great because you get to be a camp counselor and put your jokes in and get something that the people who are so sick of the script might go, oh my God, we didn't see that. That was really fun. We got that. And so I really love that.
That is great.
You kind of like your latest relationship.
Right.
And that was my latest for the last 5 years. That's what
I must say the directing was, and I don't get to do it much because the only person who hires me as a director is me. And so when I get to do it, I love it.
Who wants to deal with that jerky
Exactly.
producer?
But what's fascinating about that is not many writers are good at that transition because they don't like people.
The key was not being a good writer.
Ah,
So
well,
no,
you got that in
no.
spades.
My parents were social workers,
Yeah.
so I tapped right into that. I'm like, oh, most of this is letting actors and crew feel heard,
Right.
and not just feel it
And do their thing.
Yes, let them do what they're doing, and then find a way to sort of get this, make it better together. And
Right.
that
Collaborate.
collaboration is really great. I loved it.
That is such a great, beautiful thing that happens only one place on that stage when you're filming something. And I think a lot of writers miss that part of creating what's there.
Well, their first
write
move
it-
is to look back. If you watch writers on set, they're kind of splitting their look between the script and the monitor, and often lost in the script. They're like, oh, he's not saying this, and they're hearing it a lot. And I'm as guilty as any ex-writer. I'll look. I'm still a writer, but I'll look at the script to a fault sometimes, and then I have to get in there.
Very early on, stopped looking at the script and I just watched the scene. Mm-hmm. And I wrote notes at the top of the scene in my little thing about a word. I write a word or a blocking thing, and I won't look into the script because I wanted to see what they're doing.
Yes, and sometimes you sort of have to do that. It's almost like taking your eyes off the road. You're looking at the screen, and then you sort of want to make a note. So you'll just make a hash mark or something in the script, and you'll be surprised that once you look back at that spot in the script, you'll go, I know what the note was.
Right,
And it'll be pretty involved, but you're like, no, I just remember how I felt in that moment when I watched the actor do this. I can make that change.
It's that creative. When you can change something, suggest something, help an actor find a different moment or beat, there's something really satisfying.
It's really
that's
fun.
different than finding it in the writer's room.
And watching the actor get comfortable too, watching the actor feel safe and going, oh my gosh, this is this is what it is. Okay, I got it. Let me go again. Yes, let you go again.
And then pulling the rug out from under them,
course.
saying it was horrible.
Right,
What's
and
wrong with you?
shouting at them.
And playing on their insecurities
And
until they
taking
cry.
the main thing I've learned is taking the phone out of their hands really gets things going. I mean, I feel like the scenes really start to work.
Yeah, that's actors. A lot of actors are on the phone a lot. It's not good.
Because it might be show business.
Yeah.
It also might be Instagram.
Yeah, I did a lot of kid shows, and it was easy to tell the kids, you can't have your phones.
Can't have your phones.
But yelling at the adults was harder.
Yeah.
So I want. So one last question before we get to the other questions, which is, here you are. You've done many things. What's your proudest thing?
Well, this is what I was saving. Two things. I have two proud things. Okay. One, you say, isn't your wife sick of it? Sometimes. But when my wife laughs, and she does pretty frequently, it is like a symphony.
Right.
It is so gratifying. It's like, it confirms so many things. It confirms I am as funny as I think I am in this moment.
Right.
Not all the time. In this moment, I married the right person. We still got it.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. It's the best. So that's an ad for comedy and and marriage.
That is beautiful. I've never heard my wife laugh, so
No,
it's interesting.
I have. God, she thinks I'm hilarious.
Well, she thinks you're hilarious. She doesn't care for me.
No, doesn't.
It's interesting.
No, God, yes, you have.
no,
Stop it
we
right
do.
now.
We
She
laugh.
laughs all the time. I've seen her do it.
She's going to be a guest very soon on this show.
Oh my gosh,
Very exciting.
then you're really getting close to real guests.
Yep.
Then
I know. I had my son on. He was a guest.
He's a real guest.
I asked him, tell me what I did wrong.
When you do a friends and family opening, they're not supposed to be the people. They're supposed to go and enjoy the product.
Oh, I didn't know. Tell
me what I did wrong. Oh, wait. So you asked, what was another thing? I once got a TV show. This is chance to talk about me. The first TV show Well, the first network show I ever got, I was an actor, and I got to go to Hungary to shoot the pilot. And it all happened super fast. And it was one of those things like where I'd had, nothing good was ever accomplished without a struggle. So I'd had a great audition, then a terrible audition. And then because of a look they wanted, I think, they had me work with the casting director. And then I was like, oh, man, they're cheating. They're giving me the answers to the test.
Right.
And I didn't completely screw it up. And I went in and I was like, okay, you got the part. Before I had to get the part, I had to get a visa in my passport, which would have been terrible if I didn't get the part. Because then every time I looked at my passport for the rest of my life, I go, here's a job I didn't get.
And that's what we do every day. We look at our passports.
I can't read.
We start every day.
I like to read a short book on the John every morning. I just look at my passport.
Yeah.
On the John, what am I, 1,000 years old? Yeah. Anyway, so I got this part, and it was like, okay, you got the part, go home. The wardrobe person is going to meet you in an hour. They're going to fit you. And then tomorrow morning, you go to the doctor. In the afternoon, you're going to get on a plane. I'd never been on a first class aircraft. And then I flew to Hungary. So yesterday I was working at Catch a Rising Star for $20. Today I'm in Hungary, staying in a fancy suite. And there's a guy who's playing a violin next to me while we eat schnitzel. And it was fantastic.
That's fantastic.
That was a career highlight. But there have been a lot of them. Meeting, you know what? I met so many great people, present company included. Oh my God! If there's one reason to get into comedy, there's so many funny, great, smart people.
I agree, and there's horrible people, but I find
but
that
it makes everybody all the great ones good.
Yeah, it's still good. It's still good. I think there are great people and horrible people in probably every business, but these are some really comedians are super smart and really insightful and fucked up for sure.
But that's
interesting.
When people say like, "Oh, well, that job sounds so fun. That job sounds so fun," and you really can't deny it. You can't. Yeah, being in a writer's room with a bunch of hungry people, it's really fun.
It's fun in 1990.
Yeah, I hear the Zoom thing looks terrible because it looks like everyone has to be allowed to finish their statement. So it means that people, like in the writer's room, used to be able to get a sense when things are going badly that someone could sort of interrupt constructively.
Right.
Now they have to finish speaking, and everybody just has to hang there with that terrible death.
A lot of long moments.
Oh. I don't know how I do it.
Now I'm going to give you a chance to give me a letter between A and G and a number between 1 and 18.
Okay, you're playing Battleship. I know how this works. I know that I'm going to say GH and you're going to say hit sunk.
G no, that's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1 through 18. 18 is high.
Of course.
Okay.
I will take. Yes, you know what? I will take. I'll take B3.
B3. You've sunk my battleship. Here's B3. What is your earliest childhood memory, and how did it shape you?
C6.
No. B3.
Oh man. This is going to sound terrible. I remember
murdering my
father.
Yeah,
no, I remember being on my parents' bed. My father was happy. I think there was a Hubert Humphrey balloon, like Humphrey Muskie balloon. Did they run for president together at some point?
Hubert Humphrey ran for president.
I know, but I thought that,
maybe Muskie was his vice president.
Yeah, maybe. I just remembered there was a blue balloon. My dad had Hodgkin's disease and eventually died of it, and so it was rare that he was in decent enough shape to sort of like play around, like bounce me on a knee, and that's like the earliest. That's like my earliest memory. That's the earliest one. You asked for early. You didn't say funny.
That's true. I didn't say funny. No.
But if you have a good joke off it,
no, I don't want a joke.
That's probably the balloon.
That's okay. That's a fascinating thing. So tell me about your dad. At what age did he pass?
He died at 33. I was about 3.5.
Wow.
And I have almost, and my cousin Larry, my cousin's husband Larry, who's a psychologist, so you have basically no memory of him. Like, and he's right. I mean, everyone was shocked when Larry said that. And I was like, yeah, don't get on Larry. I basically have no memory of it. They have that memory.
Right.
But
what you have a big memory of is having no memory of him. In other words, feeling the loss and the hole.
And my wife's mother died at a very early age. I think this is one of the things that drew us together, that we both lost parents at an early age. And and I feel, by the way, that I remember someone when my mom, you know, we were living together in North Carolina without a father. And I remember people calling me, a friend of my parents calling me, laughing at me and calling me Screwy Louie because of something I'd done intentionally. And I remember I must have been 5 and thinking, this feels great.
Right.
And doing that, like trying to do whatever it was. I don't remember what it was.
You like that attention.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love that attention. And maybe there was like, you know, I was always looking for people to like me because my father wasn't there. But I don't know if that's true. What funny stuff this is.
If I knew that murdering my mother would get me closer to Liz, your wife, I would have. I might have aced you out.
I feel bad. I should have suggested it.
I had no idea.
I should have suggested it. Yeah.
The loss of parents. Well, that both fascinating and interesting memory. I'm glad I asked that because I didn't know that about you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
It actually is. It does explain something because people who are funny are often, you know, they're funny for a reason.
Yeah.
That there's a reason why they crave that attention or they're, you know, that there's something about it. Certainly with me, my father sort of trained it. So his laughter equaled love. So I got to hustle to get that thing. But also, you know, grew up, you know, I was heavy. Not now. Now I'm svelte.
Now you're an Adonis.
But, you know, so you defend yourself through humor. And,
I remember, you know, all these are boring stories. All comedians have that thing of like, I was in this situation and lo and behold, I was getting laughs and man, it was like the drug and I need more of that. And that absolutely happened. My dad, the guy who my mom married, who I refer to as my dad, he turned me on to the classics and he was funny himself. He didn't do this when my mom was married to him, but he had a real subversive sense of humor. He would supposedly at one time with his first wife who died, they lived near Peekskill, New York, near West Point's airfield, where West Point would train some Army pilots on small planes. And my dad one time was mowing his lawn and he started mowing the letters HELP, and the planes would fly over and wave their wings like as a sign of like, do you need help?
Right.
Like, and his wife had to come out and wave the pilots away. And I was like, this is the guy. This is the perfect father for me. Mom, you should definitely marry this guy. And he was. He's perfect.
That's awesome. I would like to burn messages into my
life.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a sacrifice. Awesome.
Any opportunity. That's another thing that I love about funny people. The opportunity.
Yes.
Take the opportunity to make a joke.
It might not come back. No
one will know. Maybe
you'll be in this time, in this place. Only we will. I think Seals and Crofts said it best. We may never pass this way again. Do the joke right now.
Do the joke. Make the opportunity. People might not get it. Sometimes people might get it. It doesn't matter.
They can't all be gems.
That's right.
You want. Look, if you. By the way, you have to bat way more than 500. You have to really be.
But
in
the attempt, I think you get
7s.
points for the attempt.
I hope so.
I think.
And also, there's some great thing. I mean, if you're good enough and you've been around long enough, you always have jokes to get you out of your failures.
That's true. That's true.
Which are good. Like when you bomb in the room, there's always funny. There's the Mike Rowe, the get up and go take, where you just gather everything within arms and then just carried away Steve Martin style, like in The Jerk.
Well, like Andy Kindler made an entire career.
Oh, that's absolutely.
Bombing. Yeah, so
of course,
that's fine.
Of course.
All right. So now the next section of our show, we ask questions, which is fun.
The next session. Oh, there's a notary. Okay, this is where we close.
Is the viewer mail.
Oh, excellent.
So now I actually have, these are real questions from real people who have sent them in.
Do we have music for this?
Now it's time for Listener Mail.
There's music.
Good.
It's something my son wrote, viewer mail.
Really? Oh my God, he's great.
He's very good. So here's a real question from Listener Mail.
Yes.
It's there are two, because one is pretty silly.
Okay.
Well, the first question is from Paige. How do you know when it's the right time to start your own religion?
This is like you have to have had a good night's sleep.
Okay.
And a decent breakfast. Nothing too heavy.
Yeah.
And then if you stretched and you're still feeling actualized, go.
All right. All right. I think that's as good a reason as any to start your own religion.
No, time. This is a time question.
Yeah. It was the right time.
It wasn't a reason. It was a time.
The right
they
time.
asked for a time.
Yeah. I think when everything is turning to shit, say you have the answer.
Yeah.
That's good, because otherwise people will
works.
attack you and instead of extol you.
Yeah.
So I like that power structure.
Right. Right. The being attacked. Right. The martyrdom that fits your hospce thing.
Exactly.
I wonder if you can go to hospice,
Hospice
where
now.
you can select. How would he like to go? He'd like to be martyred.
How long will he be
How would your
here?
father like to go? He'd like to be martyred.
Yeah, he'd like to be martyred.
Okay, so we need a statement of principle,
Right.
and
a death worthy of being a martyr.
right. Would he like to? How does he feel about a pike to the ribs?
Burning?
Burning?
I don't know.
Flayed?
Yeah, flayed.
Flayed.
Snakes? 1,000 arrows? 1,000 arrows is pretty good.
That's a lot.
But that's more sainthood.
As anyone knows, after the 12th arrow,
It's all the same.
you feel this.
Yeah,
It
the rest is
doesn't-
for show.
doesn't feel anything.
Yeah. Arrow 13 through 1,000 is just for show.
Same.
Yeah, I agree. So our
So you remember how I said 500? I think we're very close to batting 500.
Yes, okay. This is a more real question.
Okay.
This is from, I'm not sure who, I think maybe from Holly.
Huh.
How can one overcome fear of failure? Are we able to completely overcome fear of failure?
I think it depends on the failure. I think everything I say depends. I think you have to fail.
Right, but how do you, if you know going in, you're going to fail. We're going to fail. You try something, you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to win, but sometimes you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So
I think you really have to, like, you can't plan for it. You have to go in thinking you're going to succeed and fail. And then you have to see, if you recover, then you can always say, you know what? I failed once and here I am. It's okay.
right.
But
I disagree.
It's a blessing.
I actually think you should go in thinking that failure's a very real possibility. Not that you're going to succeed, but like if I do improv or I get up on stage, I have to be okay with sucking.
Yes, but
I don't want to suck.
No, I know.
But I have to be okay with it because
You're one step past me already. You're one step past me. That's the attitude of a man who's failed.
That's right.
I'm saying you have to fail to be able to. Well, read the question again.
How can you overcome the fear of failure? In other words, this person's being stopped from doing by their fear of failure.
I say, well, remember the last time you failed? How are you now? You're okay? Give it another try.
Right.
Like you have to say, like,
I think people are more paralyzed because you're a braver person in some things. You're not brave in everything, but you're brave in some things. Certainly getting up on stage, certainly sort of, you went into a career that didn't have a lock that was going to be successful. You're willing to get out there and try. That's your personality. This person's personality is, I don't want to try something unless I know I'm going to win.
What's the worst that can happen? What, your regular life is so friggin' great?
I think the fear of failure, that if they fail, there's some part of them, of their perception of themselves, that dies a great death.
Yes.
And so
the part of them they didn't need in the first place.
Agreed. But I agree with you. I hope that people can embrace the idea that winning isn't that important, that it's the doing that matters more. And you might fail, and then getting up and doing it again or trying again matters even more.
So many stand-ups, you have that thing of like, oh, I bombed, but the one joke I wanted to try that I was hoping would get some response got a nice lukewarm response. And in a good room, it could be good. Right. Because that's after you're done blaming the audience and the time slot and your spot on the show. Yeah. So there's
I blame the audience. I'm still in an improv group for 50 years. I've been doing the same.
Why don't they teach that the first night of improv class? When they go, okay, here are the audiences.
Right.
Here are all the ways to hate them. Just walk around in the space, start an activity, and then begin to hate the audience.
They're stupid.
Yes.
They're cold.
Yes.
The room isn't right. They're not paying attention.
Right. They didn't see the beginning of the show. They came in late. Yes.
They're prisoners. I hate that the prisoners.
Right. They're your family.
Have you ever had that? An audience full of prisoners?
Sure, of course.
Yeah,
anyone who ever worked on a sitcom in out here in the first year of a show had prisoners and people from halfway houses.
You'd think they would be more grateful to be out.
You know what's so great? I think that shows that people do belong back in society, because we think, oh, they should be. No, they're like regular people. Maybe they are capable of rehabilitation because they've already got judgmental back.
I think you have to be pretty judgmental on the inside.
You mean when you're doing your bid?
Yeah, when you're doing your time, you got to look at who's going to help you, who's not going to help you.
I know people have done stand up in jail. You think they've ever been heckled with? It's like, we can't escape. And we would give anything to escape. Or it's like, I know I'm going to get shot. I'm going.
Yeah. I'm in a
make a
life
run
sentence
for it.
and I will kill you.
I'm gonna crab walk
Right.
up this wall.
Right.
I'm still. What fun that was.
That would be
the
good.
national hunt for the guy who
That
crab
guy,
walked up the wall.
they found him.
I know, but it was so fun because it gave everybody permission to hunt for sport. We were all hunting a human being for sport.
I was just upset. I mean, sort of like, that guy's, I didn't think they were ever going to find that guy.
They find everybody.
I don't think so.
There's video of everybody doing everything.
I guess I figure this is true. The last section of our little show,
Yes.
because we're running way over time,
See? Told
is
you.
Moment of Joy.
A moment of joy.
Tell me something that gives you joy, a random, specific, any kind of thing that you just like say, if I really wanted to feel good, I would do X, experience X, and by X I mean ecstasy. I'm talking about ecstasy only.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that's
Right,
it.
sure.
Does everybody
Okay.
say ecstasy?
Yeah, everybody says
yeah.
ecstasy.
Oh, so yes.
Yeah, sure.
So I would like to join the list of people who said
Who
ecstasy.
love ecstasy.
I will say this. I already said one thing. My wife's laughter.
Right.
And I said I was out of place. The other thing can be the thing about
Right.
and this
Your
can
wife's
be this.
laughter is the moment of joy.
It's the moment of joy.
But it's not dependable.
No.
So that's hard.
No, it's no. It's
Sunset
not.
is dependable.
That's the beauty. No, right. That's the beauty of it. It's like, I mean, they can't all be gems. That's the joy of life. You don't know. I will say this: the getting together. My sons are not usually in the same place,
Right.
and so being together with Liz and all three kids, and now their wives and loved ones, it is so tremendous. Alcohol helps tremendously.
Right.
You raise these kids, you work so hard, and boy, you give them a glass of wine with those things that you worked really hard
Yeah.
on. Oh my God, what fun!
Yeah. The kids
What
are great.
fun. And I'm not a grandfather, but I will accept any donation.
Right.
I want grandchildren so much.
It'll
I
happen.
can't-
It'll come.
you
It'll
say
come.
So. Oh my God.
Because you got tall boys.
I got tall.
They're gonna have kids.
Tall people have kids.
Tall people have
If you
kids.
know anything about people,
Well,
only the tall.
giants. As you evolution says, the stronger, the taller.
They die early.
Oh, really?
Did you know? By the way, I wish that everyone just grew their whole life so that you would be able to just know how old someone is by how tall he is.
That would be great.
Look at him, a man of such great
Those
height.
people would also get more respect.
Right. Like
Instead
Robert,
of-
like you just know, you're like the trees, like they're redwoods.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, he's so tall. Oh my
Right.
God,
It's-
he must be so.
It's God's joke that we
a
get
man of
shorter.
his height. You got to respect him.
We get shorter as we get older,
True.
and start getting hunched over, and we look terrible.
My kids are so tall. I married a tall woman to
Yes.
break the cycle of genetic abuse that produced generations of tiny liquor salesmen, and it worked. It
Yes.
worked.
You're very
I'm
tall.
So happy
Very tall.
about it.
That's
I can
good.
die happy.
That's true. Good for you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, what a pleasure.
I love you.
I love you.
Like deeply.
It doesn't have to wait till birthdays.
I do. That's what this is. Our audience
Tell
should know
this story.
that many years ago, I don't know, it was 10 years ago, I was going to have my birthday, and my wife Brown wanted to have a party for me. She says, well, would anybody, as many people as you want, we can invite 100 people. I said, I just want to go have dinner with Lew Schneider.
How many dinners had we had before that?
Like, none?
Zero dinners.
Yeah, none.
Unless you include your wedding, which
Yeah.
we shared with 350
Right.
other people.
None.
Zero.
None.
And so it made it so much easier. You broke the ice on that. And now this year, when it was my birthday and we had to sort of figure out what to do, I was like, oh, I know what to do.
It was so great.
The answer's there. Dinner with Jay and Brown.
We have shared these occasions, and they brought us closer. And I
You
am
used
just,
it as a thinly veiled excuse to get me to do this stupid podcast.
I have a much bigger favor. It involves money. That's
love
coming.
this. I loved every second of this, and I'm sorry I took so much of your
I do love
time.
you. I love your wife. I'm glad that we're friends, and I'm glad that I can feel close enough that I can joke with you about the most horrible of things at any time.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way. Thank you for having me. Sorry for taking so much of your time.
Nah, I kind of forgive you. It's okay. It's all right.
We'll get over it.
Don't be